Thank you. All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Lunenburg Trust Fund Commission. Today is Thursday, February 12th. We were a little late, just getting some technical stuff together. Our meeting will go from 5 to 6:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order and open with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate everybody's patience. I'd like to just start by reading our opening. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access channel on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page. It will be uploaded to Lunenburg Access YouTube after the meeting. Additionally, please be advised that the town of Lunenburg utilizes the Zoom platform as host for its hybrid and remote meetings. That the Zoom platform utilizes AI technology known as AI Companion to create audio transcripts of meetings to aid in the subsequent preparation of meeting minutes, and that AI Companion is activated immediately upon launching the Zoom application. You are hereby notified that this AI technology may capture audio prior to the start of the meeting and/or following the conclusion of the meeting. This meeting will be held in person at the location provided on the notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item in this agenda should make plans for an in-person versus virtual attendance. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate in this meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, there's a link in the notice to join the public meeting webinar. And the number to join with is 302-003-9690. Or you could dial a telephone number at 888-475-4499. You can enter our webinar ID, which is 302-003-9690, and hit the pound or hashtag key, generational issue. If you have not registered with Zoom, you will be asked for your name and email address. No participation ID is needed. You just have to press pound when asked. And if you want to request to speak, you hit *9. And the computer app, if you want to speak, there is on the bar on the bottom, you'll be able to see the raise the hand feature. The agenda lists all the topics that may be discussed at the meeting and those that are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all the items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. I'd like to first set this to record so that we can record. Okay. All right. So, okay, that being said, now that I'm all set, sorry, a little bumps in the road here today. Okay, what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask if there is any public comment from the public. If there's any public comment from the public. We don't have any public here. I do not see any public on Zoom. Do I have any public comment from the commission?
I have no comment, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Richard, and I have no comment. Announcements and communications from any trust representatives. I don't see any trust representatives here, and none on Zoom. Our scheduled meetings are generally every second and fourth Thursday, otherwise notated on the agenda, which is posted 48 hours in advance of any meeting. So check lunenburgma.gov for any changes to that. Please recognize that Monday is a holiday. That means that there'll be publishing requirements that the town has for those meetings. So if something isn't published because it wasn't published on time, Monday is a holiday, so Wednesday meetings may not be, and that's how that works. May not be available if they're not published by today or Monday. So that being said, that's just a notification. Any holiday is like that. We have no treasurer, finance, or director reports tonight. We can run right into new business. The follow-up warrant article, bylaw submissions and responses from the select board and town manager, and the finance committee and the bylaw. So I do have some newly developed information. Our warrant articles and our bylaw has been submitted to the bylaw review committee. Well, the bylaw has been submitted to the bylaw review committee. The article has been submitted to the town manager and select board, and a courtesy copy has been given to the finance committee chair. I was informed this evening that I will be meeting on March 3rd with the select board for a presentation of the bylaw as well as the presentation of the warrant article. And that'll be on March 3rd at the select board meeting. So I scheduled that for tonight. I just got grabbed. Here you go, when can you do this? I go, the earliest the better. Let's put it in so we can get anything worked out. I will be meeting with the lawyer coming up to talk about the Cypre filing. Just so you know, which is, all part and incorporated to our warrant articles, Richard. And I will meet with him to have a further discussion on that, also to review our application. And we're going to go over some things tonight with regard to these particular items, specifically the process for which, how money and policy on that of how to get the money to the people and how people can ask for the money. And that's what we're going to be reviewing tonight. So I have a number of documents that I'm going to share. And I'm going to share it on Zoom. And Pack will transfer to that when I do that so that everybody online can read the work. The first document that I'm going to grab here, if you could just bear with me, I have to pull this up and lower this screen and do all this fancy stuff. So, all right. Oh, where am I? Okay. So, all right. All right, so what we're going to go over today first, that I'd like to go over, forgive my screen, this is that drive folder. It's all public in here, so you can all look at it. I want to go over the trust fund policy, which is, I'm sorry, the guide for the military distribution to military members through the American Legion funds that we have. What I want to do is I want to show you, this is a form that basically outlines a step-by-step eligibility determination process and how that's going to work for persons who are residents of Lunenburg who wish to receive assistance through the two funds that we have. As soon as we get the Cypre filing, hopefully town meeting, you will all honor us with a vote to be able to get that Cypre filing done. We'll make a presentation there as well as a presentation before the select board. But in the meantime, this is just a purpose guide and outline of which I'm going to show. Just so that everybody is aware, I'm going to blow this up a little so everybody can see it. Okay, so this is the Trust Fund Disbursement Eligibility Instruction Manual for the trustees of the Lunenburg, Massachusetts Board of Trust Funds Commissioners. The purpose and scope of this manual is to guide trustees through a consistent, auditable process to determine eligibility for disbursements from military personnel-related trust funds. It focuses on discharge types, punitive and misconduct-based administrative, and the DD 214 fields required to be able to make those determinations. So, just so everybody knows, anybody who is a veteran or an active duty military member would be somebody who would be entitled to these funds, that there is only one disqualifier, and that disqualifier is this, that would disqualify you from these funds. This is, there are really no other disqualifiers except for what we'll discuss here when it comes to the disbursement of these military funds. The definitions: punitive discharges would be a dishonorable discharge, bad conduct discharge, dismissal, which would be for officers, they become dismissed, imposed only by court-martial. Administrative discharges would be honorable or a general discharge, which would be an under honorable condition discharge, an other than honorable discharge, and entry level or uncharacterized discharge. And we'll go through that. The blocks in the DD 214 key fields will be number 24, which is your character of service, number 25, separation authority, number 26, which will be your SPD code, and that's the code for the dismissal. There's not a public record on it, but in this document, I've showed whatever there is available for the public for determinations. All those codes are not available. Obviously, we will follow up with Michelle Durkee on any DD 214 that is submitted. It would be convenient that if you did not submit your DD 214 and you're a veteran in town to Michelle Durkee, you should email her mdurkee@lunenburgma.gov. That's DURKEE, and get your DD 214 over there so that you can receive benefits and get notifications to be able to get whatever, assistance that you may be entitled to in town. Not a bad idea. But these DD 214s will be run against what our Veterans Liaison has access to verify any kind of submission of documentation with regard to DD 214s. So, because we don't have access to that, she does. In any case, step-by-step eligibility determination process. The eligibility process will require the person to obtain a copy of their DD 214 long form. The record of character service block will be looked at. The narrative reason, block 28 will be looked at. Record and separation authority, block 25. Record the SPD code, block 26. We will screen for restrictive categories, dishonorable BCDs, dismissals, and most other than honorables tied to misconduct. These will all be flagged to be verified. If flagged, we will verify the SPD code with the service authority. That'll be the Army, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, so forth. We will verify with them through the authority we have in town, which is our Veterans Authority. We will document the verification, email a memo to file, and attach it to the case. And then board policy will be applied, and a final determination will be made, and the decision for the reason and rationale will be lodged in the file. Richard, any questions?
No.
No? Okay. All right, documentation and recording. Maintain the DD 214 copy. We will, the SPD verification proof, and the board's written decision in the case file. Just so you know, that information will be held in a case file. It is not publicly accessible information to the public. Applicants may request reconsideration with new documentation. And the trustees may refer complex cases for legal counsel review, which comes under our policy and purview, if the case is complex, because,
Mr. Chairman, the case file that resides in the treasurer's office?
yes. And like I said, it's, so the treasurer has, as overseer of the money, the authority to protect the record at the same time. So that record doesn't sit in our house. We don't have copies of it. They stay here and remain here. You get a file with your name on it and your determination for review, which will only be done in executive session. But again, you know, under the Massachusetts Public Records Law and under the FOIA law, your information is not going to be, personal information is not going to be handed out to anybody. Nobody has access to that. I don't know if you remember, but I made a big stink about the Cemetery Commission having access to DD 214s that are in the actual record of their computer program and having access to that information, you know, about soldiers, and it's the long form in there, in the death certificates. That nobody should have access to that unless they're doing work with that. And that's why I had raised that issue. I don't know if folks would probably remember. I said that information is protected information and that it is not for the eyes of anybody who just gets on a board. This is, unless there is a legitimate reason, and the cemetery had no legitimate reason for looking at DD 214s, and that's why I said something. This board does. This board has legitimate reasons. Those DD 214s will be reviewed in executive session. They will not come out here. A denial will come out here. If there's a denial based on the information, a denial will come forward publicly, okay, based on the information. But the denial will be denied based on this particular screening policy. You know what I mean? That if you get denied, the reasoning for the denial will not be, well, because you got an other than honorable discharge on such and such day for doing this or for doing that. No, 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 no. We will say publicly that we're sorry that we're not able to offer the applicant for, you know, for benefit because of issues regarding block 24, 28, 25, and 26 on their long form. And that's how it will read. It doesn't necessarily mean, you know, that your information is going to be told to the public, you know. But these are reasons for being restricted from being able to get that. You should read your own DD 214 and know before you come to apply that this is a disqualifier. And again, like I said, there may be some kind of circumstances that require legal counsel, and that's why that's in here. There may be some complexities, and you have something like that on the record, you know, and that will have to be looked at by counsel to make a decision and a determination based on that. Okay, so again, I don't know anybody's personal situation that comes here. I'm reading forms. But if there is a complex situation, you know, that can be communicated to us as part of the review process. And then we can decide to refer it to the council for further review to make a determination if it's need be. Because there, I'm going to be honest with you, there's mistakes. You know, everything made by the federal government is made by the lowest bidder. At least that's what General MacArthur said. He says, pick up that rifle next to you. Because the one you're holding might not work. Sorry. I think that was MacArthur, if I remember that, when I read that. In any case, okay. So, documentation and record keeping. We have here maintaining DD 214, the SPD verification proof, board's written decision in the case file. These are appeals and exceptions, like I said, as I had reviewed with you for legal counsel review. I do have some appendices put in here. This is the discharge and SPD overview by branch. Note, I have a note in here. It says SPD codes are controlled by DoD services, not fully published. Public SPD lists are provided as screening cues only. That always verify the actual code on the DD 214 with the service personnel office before making a determination. And this is why, you know, we'll be screening through Michelle Durkee for verification and determination.
She's not going to be making the determination.
No, she's going to tell us what they are.
Information, okay.
Yeah, she's going to say, this isn't, this is this, this is this, this is this. You know what I mean? If they fit any of this criteria. And that's why we have appendices here, to kind of just get an idea. So it says here, Appendix A, we have U.S. Army. Category punitive. Discharge type, bad conduct, dishonorable, dismissal. Officers are dismissed. They're not separated. Characterization would be punitive. Narrative reason or examples would be like a court martial. The separation authority on Block 25 would be AR 635-200, Chapter 3. The SPD codes and source would be GJB, okay? Or court martial, public, verify with S1 transition. These are all, and then some notes with regard to it. So these are just, there's administrative misconduct, a pattern of misconduct somebody had. Often this is other than honorable or a general discharge due to a pattern of misconduct. And again, you know, these are just notations to get an idea of how the screening process works. And then there's serious offense, administrative misconduct. It shows obviously other than honorable and general discharge. Drug abuse, administrative misconduct, a civil conviction is considered an other than honorable. Okay? The Navy, punitive and quasi-punitive, separation in lieu of trial by court-martial, usually other than honorable. In lieu of trial by court-martial, separation authority, Milpersman 1910-106. SPD per, these are the, so just so you know, all these names, they apply to certain legal authorities. I don't know specifically what all of them are, but I looked at some of them. We don't need to know that, that's not our business. This is just a category appendix to kind of give narrative reasons for examples, whether it's punitive or administrative, just as examples. You have here Navy, serious offenses and administrative. Okay, drug abuse, pattern of misconduct, civil conviction, you know what I mean? Then you have the Air Force, same deal. Okay, serious offense, pattern, drug abuse, bad conduct, dishonorable dismissal for the Marine Corps. Okay, Coast Guard, punitive administrative, court-martial. Don't have a Space Force in here. It doesn't exist at the moment. It exists, but it's not. Yeah, these are just examples.
Sometime with the Air Force.
Huh?
The Air Force.
Yeah, it's probably in with the Air Force, I would assume, but I don't want to, you know, I don't want to jump the gun on that. I'm not fully 100% knowledgeable of everything, but I've been in touch with a number of different people, military recruitment authorities and so forth, as well as other base personnel that I'm friends with. That are still active duty with regard to this. A few people are JAG officers that I'm friends with. So I went over a lot of this with some of them just as a review to make sure that I'm putting together the right format. We don't want to exclude anybody that shouldn't be excluded. That's why we have the provision of the legal provision. Actually, that was recommended because it wasn't here. I added that in. It was recommended that there may be a separation that happened or occurred as a result of the actions of somebody else, that the DD 214 was the dismissal for which they were, but, you know, there might be a letter that they could receive from their commandant or commander that says that this was an investigative measure, they were released, but the outcome was this, but it still required removal, but that person was considered. Because, see, there are some discharges in the military that you can still get your veterans benefits. And they're general discharges for misconduct and stuff like that. But those are deals that are usually made with the military. That's, you know, kind of like a plea bargain. You know, instead of throwing you out and taking your GI Bill and taking your VA loan benefits and your medical benefits away from you, you know, we think you have a drug abuse problem. So, you know, we're going to allow you to keep those benefits. But for the purposes of this, you know, without taking a blanket statement, you know, drug abuse that led to something else while you were, you know, within the military could be a problem, but, you know, might not be a complete disqualifier to us on something like that because of drug abuse being a mental health condition. Do you see what I'm saying? Or, you know, I mean, there's some parameters that we do have wiggle room with. That's why we have a board. It's not one person's decision, you know, but these are disqualifiers. But if they become legal, then it becomes a different story. You know, the people that I talk to that are active duty right now, that said that usually if it's like drug abuse, it's not somebody who was using drugs and got hooked on drugs. It's somebody who was moving drugs from one country to another. He said, you know, they'll do internal stuff, you know, with people that have problems. Do you know what I mean? But for the most part, if it says drug abuse, he said that's the code for, you know, the same code that's used for transporting narcotics. Do you know what I mean? Like using a military, you know, transport, you know, because you don't get searched. Nothing, your bags don't get searched. You're not, do you know what I mean? He said that's, you know, that comes with a separate code, he said, and that's why I said there's a lot of details that go into behind the DD 214 with the SPD codes and everything else that belong to somebody with the eyes of understanding to that. And that's why we need to hand that to Michelle to make those determinations. Because she can get the eyes of understanding from that, you know, because Adam Coster is not a military lawyer. I mean, he's not going to know. So, Appendix C uses this table to locate information for screening. This is a simplified reference layout. Official DD 214 may differ. Type of separation, block 23, character of service. All the context is written here, primary screening. How the board uses it, dishonorable, BCD, dismissal, other than honorable, flagged. 23 is type of separation, is for context only. It's how the board uses it. The separation authority governing regulations corroborates the reason and gives branch guidance. It's, you know, this is basically just to help us better understand. The separation code, which is the three-letter code, verify with the service office if restrictive. The reentry code, it's just for information. The narrative reason, plain language reason, misconduct, serious offense. Secondary screening aligns with authority and SPD. Dates of time lost, if any, informational, you know. This is how this will be used by us for those determinations, like I said in the beginning. This is just to get, and that's why I said there is some wiggle room with the board to some extent after the verification. And like I said, because there may be a set of circumstances that people aren't aware of, but again, those circumstances have to be proven, you know, to a higher standard, like, you know, not a preponderance of the evidence, you know, not a reasonable doubt this isn't a criminal situation, you know, but should be under strict scrutiny, which is you better have some really concrete, you know, documentation that you can provide that says this isn't what it is. That's why, you know, we should look at this with more strict scrutiny, you know what I mean, in issuing funds when the only reason to deny funds is a result of misconduct. I mean, you know, everybody has a bad day. But the reality is, you know, if you had a bad day then, well, that bad day might affect you today. I know that firsthand. So, so that being said, you know, it's accountability. We have some samples of the DD 214 long form and short form, highlighting the specific boxes and locations and the review. These are just samples. This is board material for the board to have. And then there's a notice that the manual and appendices are an overview to assist the trustees of Lunenburg Mass Trust Funds Commission. Final eligibility decision, the rest of the board's policy, and the official DD 214 on file. Always verify SPD codes with the issuing service. It's just a notice. And that is, that's, that's the policy for disqualification. Is there any questions from the board?
I have no questions. I think this is a good protection to have that exception process.
Yeah, well, we discussed that.
Yeah.
And now it's just putting it on paper. So, what I'd like to do is, I would like to put a motion in to adopt this disqualification policy for use with the American Legion funds, the 2 American Legion funds that we have, and ratify that this is a suitable structure and process for us to be able to engage in the disqualification of individuals based on what they qualify for.
Yep. Second that motion.
Okay, so I will make the motion a little easier. So the Board of Trust Fund Commission, before it is a motion to accept the trust fund disbursement eligibility instruction manual with regard to the handling of veterans funds, including but not limited to the 2 American Legion funds currently held by the Trust Fund Commission, and any future military or veteran funds will be inclusive of this same process unless obviously the donor specifies otherwise. And, yeah, unless the donor specifies that it's not a disqualifier, but it'll always be used as a disqualifier.
Yes.
Did I get that right? Did you write it right?
I will have to take it off of the minutes.
Okay.
I started writing.
So
and you
let's
started
just
getting-
clarify that again. So,
Your ability to speak is faster than my ability to.
I know. So I make a motion to approve the trust fund disbursement eligibility instruction manual for veterans trust funds that the town may come in control. That if the fund does not specifically state that these circumstances are not a disqualifier, then they shall be applied to all veteran trust funds given or bequeathed in the benefit of the town and its residents. Do I get a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The policy has been adopted. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Okay. This is the Trust Fund Disbursement Eligibility Instruction Manual with a different purpose and scope. This manual establishes uniform criteria and procedures for trust fund eligibility determinations, including income, residency, federal poverty level application, that's what FPL stands for, documentation, and appeals. Okay? The percent FPL definitions, income divided by 100% of the federal poverty level monthly. Just so everybody knows, Massachusetts follows the federal poverty level guideline, and that itemizes that in here, just so you know. This particular manual is establishing procedures for eligibility determinations that are based on income. So if it's a poor fund, we have the worthy poor fund. If it's based on, a veteran who's poor, this format gets used. For anybody who comes to receive a fund where income eligibility is determined, this is what this policy is for. The federal poverty level is under the Health and Human Services guideline, whatever they have. So whatever it is, it can change year to year. It might have adjustments. It needs to be looked at annually. I believe it's changed when the COLA comes out, it gets adjusted. When the cost of living increase comes out for Social Security, as well as other government programs. Gross monthly income which is income before taxes, and household size, all persons sharing income. So there's a step-by-step eligibility determination. That step-by-step determination is a finalized decision. Check duplications, determine loan terms, apply sliding scale policy, calculate the percent of FPL, find 100% of FPL, collect gross income, determine household size, verify residency, and an intake, okay? So, I think I have that reversed, don't I? It's supposed to go intake, verify residency, determine household size. Okay, so this is backwards. So I took it backwards.
Do we want to add verify citizenship or,
Well, here's the thing, so,
let's say, legal citizenship?
so here's the thing, so this follows the federal government's Health and Human Services guidelines for benefit. So this residency, verify residency, we can add in citizenship in the United States. I only have I have one setback with that determination, right? Is that without it sounding discriminatory towards people who, you know, come to the United States, right, legally, that are not citizens. And that gets into some murky waters with regard to reference. I would say verify legal residency, meaning that you don't, how about this, you don't have an order for removal by, you know, the Department of Homeland Security.
Well, it's either.
I mean, you know, this
citizenship
is-
Or residency card or.
Well, this is what I mean. So we could say verify legal residency. That would be, you know, legal U.S. residency. We can change it to that. But I don't want to get into specifics because then that becomes discriminatory at any point in time. You know what I mean? It's kind of like one of those things where, you know, one person, you know, does the right thing and another person does the wrong thing, but then the person doing the right thing is being treated like the person who's doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's sort of like, am I getting discriminated against because I can't apply for the American Legion Fund?
Right,
Because I don't apply because I never served in the military.
right, right.
But is that discriminating against me?
Well, no, it's not, but when it comes to economic standing, everybody has an economic standing regardless of race, class, or current status, right? The thing is that we have to look back, that if, you know, obviously if it's written in the trust, it's gonna be written in the trust. Do you know what I mean? That it can be applied to anyone. This is for, you know, a lot of this stuff says Lunenburg residents. It was never taken to mean somebody with legal status. But that doesn't mean that we can't have as a policy that it's legal status because it is not mentioned in the trust document. Do you know what I'm saying? And that rightfully, I have to be honest with you, if you do not have legal status within the United States, okay, the federal laws apply anyways, and that's actually in here. They apply anyways that, you know, you can't receive any kind of benefit, public or otherwise, you know what I mean, if you do not have legal status in the United States. It's written right in the law already into the federal government.
It's not enforced, but it's written.
It's written, but it's not enforced. And again, this is why I said, so I would say, I don't want to say legal U.S. residency, that's why I kind of left it with residency. This is also a thing, but what we can say is verify U.S. residency. We can put verify U.S. residency. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, so, and like I said, so now think about this for a second. How do you prove residency requirement? Birth certificate. But if you weren't born here, US passport. If you are, if you have an alien registration number, that's a documentation, green card. That's legal US resident.
Right.
So I just want to make that clear, that, you know, that it's not that we don't want to help people who are here, we just don't want, I'll be honest with you, wall jumpers that came out of a, you know, came here for nefarious activity. I guess. I'm just saying. That's just, you know, I don't think everybody that's come here illegally is actually trying to be illegal. I think they were just like, well, they opened the door, so I came in. And, you know, now I'm being harmed. But, I mean, you know, if you're going to give me $2,500 and a free plane ticket and send me home, I'm leaving. And then I'll be back. Why? I'll fly there, leave the country, spend $2,500 and fly back and with all my paperwork. Why do you think they're giving them $2,500? So that they can afford to fly back. I mean, if you look at it in that context, you know, so it's really not a wrong thing, just they came and they let me in, do you know what I mean? And, you know, that's sad. That's harming millions of people. That's what that did.
Right. And my only
Well, they
point
let me in. It's like, yeah, I know, but they shouldn't have let you in the way that they let you in.
my point is just that they shouldn't have access to the same
Benefit.
benefit that a person who's lived in Lunenburg for 40 years.
Right.
60 years.
Well,
40 years
right.
has, right?
Right.
They may reside in some apartment somewhere in the town of Lunenburg,
Mm-hmm.
having snuck over the border a few months earlier.
Right,
And they shouldn't be like, hey, I'm gonna apply, now I want a loan, I want
right.
a grant for a poor fund.
Right, well, that's why it says, you
That's why I
know,
wanted
it's
to
not
make
just
sure it has
verified
something.
town residency, but even though most of these funds are for townspeople. But according to any kind of poverty guidelines and stuff like that, and any kind of regulation such as this, you know, the same benefit applies in this instance, at least how I see our policy, as it would apply if you were going to get a public assistance. So if the federal government won't give you public assistance, why should we be giving you public assistance? Now, don't get me wrong, some people are disqualified who are American citizens from public assistance because they caught with drugs on public housing, or they got caught with, do you know what I mean, weapons on public housing. Do you know what I'm saying? Or were barred from places like that, you know, or abused the food stamp program at one time, or the TANF program, you know, or the TAFTC program, and got kicked off it. Well, even though you got kicked off it, we're not gonna say, no, you can't have help. We'll help you. Why? Just because the government kicked you off, you're living in this town. We want you to strive in this town. We don't want you to be, you know what I mean, falling apart. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so you can't get all those benefits anymore because you're screwed up. Okay, well, we can only give you a little, you know, but you're not screwing us because we have checks and balances in place. It's not just going in and fill out a thing and they write you a check and it shows up on a blue card. You see my point? So, I mean, I'm not, but I would say verify United States residency. I am wholeheartedly in agreement with that. There's a residency requirement. It's not just town requirement. It's also, you know what I mean? I just think a lot of those people got screwed. It really upsets me. When I saw it happen, and I was like, they're all gonna get in trouble later. I said, they're all gonna get in trouble later. And the only people that suffer are those people who came here, you know, on a prayer. You know what I mean? Like praying that, you know, what, Kamala Harris get elected? That wasn't gonna happen. We all knew that. Sad. So, I don't like it. I mean, I have friends in Europe that have come here and worked and left in my back. People here on contracts. I have contracts with Europeans. You know what I mean? And Pakistani people and stuff like that have contracts. They go, why did those people just cross the border? I have a buddy of mine in Pakistan. Why would they do that? Why would they think that it would be okay? Why didn't they just stop and say, hey, isn't there a right way to do this? And literally ask to do the right way. You know what I mean? He says they would have been better off. Then Border Patrol would have been backed up trying to service people instead of trying to, you know. He doesn't understand it. He says they have problems there between India and Pakistan, back and forth, people, and it's just nuts. So, sad. Sad. I'm disturbed by it all, to be honest with you. So, the next section says documentation and record keeping, retain application proofs, income docs, FPL worksheet, decision, notes for 6 years per mass law. That's just, holding on to certain document retention. Applicant may appeal in 30 days if they don't like the decision. The board reviews evidence and issues decisions, exceptions for hardships. Like I said, remember what I said? So people can have a hardship for a period of time. You lose your job. You got mortgage payments, but you can pay it back as soon as you get another job. But right now, you're on the cusp of a foreclosure and you need, $3,500 to stop you from being foreclosed, but you're looking at possibly getting another job. Here's my CV, here's my resume, this is what I'm doing, do you know what I mean? I'll be able to pay the money back because I made it. It's just I've been living paycheck to paycheck, my kid's sick, this, that, do you know what I mean? Like there's issues, there's hardships. And it's like, okay, so when you come out of the hardship, you'll be able to pay us back. You know what I mean? And we contributed to you, you contribute back to your community by returning it. So it's a temporary hardship that people could be entitled to that would fit into this as well, And it happens. Middle class and poor people lose their jobs more than professional and, upper middle class, which I think is now the middle class. Very confused. So, that's so funny. So I said that to my wife the other day. I said, look, the upper middle class is now the middle class, and the middle class is now on the cusp of being poor. I go, what happened? Oh, I don't know. But anyways, so commissioner's instructional process determining eligibility across all criteria, residence and identity, verified mass residency, Massachusetts and Lunenburg. And United States residency, you'll see how we edit this as we go along. This is what I wanted. And identify, and the identity for all adult household members, household size, confirm all persons sharing income expenses, document dependents, income captured gross monthly from all sources, wages, unemployment, social security, child support. Use 2026 HHS FPG for the 48 states to compute the percent of FPL monthly. It's a formula. Assets and resource. If the program requires it, record liquid assets if relevant to a specific fund rule. I mean, they say you can have one car. Do you know what I'm saying? You can own one car, right? Your primary house, right, is your house. That's not an asset. That's your primary home. Do you see my point? And we should probably stick to that because I think that's, you're not like an income property, But now we have, hold on, now we have ADUs. So now is it an income property? You see my point? You see the mess this is making? For us to be able to sit there and be fair? I have an ADU. I rent it, but I'm not a renter, but I can collect money from the person living there and it doesn't need to be my family member. In my own house. So is that considered the income portion now too? I mean, is this a renter? Do we have to start scrutinizing? So do you have an ADU? Yeah, I do. And then we have to go check permits to check ADUs. Do you see my point? This is what I mean. This is how messy this can really get.
It's a can of worms, and we're just better off not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Right, and that's,
And that's what the state has defined as being the overarching
right,
value principle of how we're gonna,
right.
award basically.
And that's why, and that's why I wrote this. I wrote this like that specifically because I wanted to, you know, I wanted a static way to do this because there's too many details that you can go down a rabbit hole. So ensure that trust funds do not duplicate aid already provided for the same need. We have to look at that. Assess the purpose. What is it? Housing, utilities, medical, transportation, and what other benefits are available. Record liquid assets if relevant to a specific fund rule. I got an entire empty page. Okay, this is the poverty percentage chart, just so everybody knows. You can find this on the Health and Human Services website. This just shows you family size. 133% annually is $21,227. Puts you 133% below the poverty level. If you're 400% below the poverty level, your monthly is $5,320 for a family of one. Yearly rather. No, monthly, sorry. It's $21,000 annually. And $63,840. Imagine that. And that's at 400%. Imagine that. So, just so everybody knows, 400% means the lowest poverty level to the highest income. That's how that chart works. Don't get confused. But, like I said, if you earn under $63,840, you actually fit into the poverty level structure. This is why I said, well, yeah, the upper class is now, the upper middle class is now the middle class, and the middle class is now just above the poor. It's amazing. Look at this. Two, husband and wife, 86,000 combined income. Puts you in the realm. For benefit. So there's a worksheet, an award determination. Just has applicant name, municipality, phone number, gross income, 100% sliding scale tier. That's section 4. Award type and amount, okay? And I showed you the section 4 above the sliding scale. Award type and amount, whether it's a grant, a loan, or a split, part grant, part loan. Attach required proof of ID, residency, and income. Incomplete applications will delay processing. Complete all sections. Residency proof. Provide attached mass. State's residency proof. Provide last 30 days of income. Provide documentation of need. Sign and date the certification. Again, this is all process. The applicant packet, this is just kind of instructions for them with the form. Complete all fields, attach ID and residency proof, attach last 30 days, state purpose and amount. It's all here. So if an applicant's like, well, what do I do? How do I do? We'll post this on the website. They can go to the website and they can look and see what they need to do. Submit to board clerk. Applicant's full name, address, household members, list names, date of birth, relationship, employer, income sources, gross monthly income. Just standard inquiries. And that's that. So that's for low income. That's for income disbursement based trusts. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to make a motion if you have any open discussion that you'd like to have.
I have no more discussion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the trust fund disbursement eligibility instruction manual based on income for any fund for which the town holds, of which income is the basis for the trust fund, to utilize this particular format for determining eligibility.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. The trust fund disbursement eligibility instruction manual based on income-based trust funds will be adopted and entered into the record. Okay, touche. This is good. All right, let's go to the next. Okay, where is... Okay, just so everybody knows, I'm just going to go over real quick, just for everybody to see. Okay, that maybe you didn't watch last week, but I want to just keep this in everybody's mind and everybody's forefront. This is what we're going to be discussing on the 3rd before the select board. This particular document here, you'll have to bear with me. Why didn't this open? Oh, I opened it here. Okay, that's all right. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Oh, sorry. Oh. All right, so want to share this tab instead. So this is our request. This is going to be going over March 3rd with the select board, just because I don't want anybody to be taken aback. This just came in tonight, so I want to add this in, even though it's not on the agenda. We went over this at our last meeting. People didn't get a chance to hear it. This is appropriation for legal expenses related to trust fund side parade proceedings. The article reads as follows: to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $14,252.39 from the general fund for the payment of legal expenses as advised by town council, which we received from the town manager, necessary for the research, analysis, legal drafting, and filing of side parade petitions in the Massachusetts Probate and Family Court, Worcester Division, for the purpose of correcting and updating the terms of certain trust funds so that they may lawfully and effectively serve their intended charitable purposes, including, but not limited to, the American Legion Poor Trust Fund, ledger name American Legion Poor, and the Post 283 American Legion Trust Fund, ledger name Lunenburg Post number 283, which presently restrict use of the funds to members of American Legion Post 283, an organization that is no longer an active or recognized national or state post of the American Legion, thereby preventing the funds from being used for the benefit of the Lunenburg resident veterans, and the Worthy Poor Fund, ledger name Worthy Poor Income, whose existing terms require modification to conform with the modern structure of public assistance, as the responsibility for the care of the poor is no longer a municipal function and was assumed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the early 20th century under statewide public welfare laws. Said appropriation being for the purpose of restoring lawful, practical, and charitable use of these trust funds through judicial approval consistent with donor intent, or take any other action relative thereto, just so everybody's aware. So, again, we went over this at the last meeting. We had some Zoom problems and PAC problems. So this is what will be discussed on March 3rd. There'll be a presentation. We went over some stuff at our last meeting, which obviously was not recorded because of some issues, but nonetheless, it will be reflected in the minutes. So there is that. We don't have any discussion on that. We already discussed that, to submit it, Craig. So, all right. So, all right. So, just real quickly, we reviewed this. Did we review this one? No, this was prepared January 30th. All right, so I just want to go over that other warrant article, and then I will go over that one. So hold on. Okay, so The other warrant article that we will be, hello. The other warrant article that we will be submitting, oops. Okay. The other warrant article that we will be submitting will be the distribution of trust funds in the absence of a quorum. All right, I don't need this. Why is that there?
I mean, we did discuss this at the last meeting. There were some, I think, corrections that were possibly necessary.
Yeah.
Through the review, so.
There was. Oops.
I mean, the concept was discussed, the language was read. They said that there was a few corrections and some research needed to be done on a few items, so it was not finalized.
Right. What the hell's going on? Stop share. Okay. Yeah, we voted for them to be finalized with taking the certain word municipal
Yes.
out.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah, we did that. Correct. What the heck happened here? All right. Share screens, okay. All right, share, okay. There. Sorry. Where is my phone? I don't know what's going on here. Something just happened. All right, I want to share. All right, just bear with me a minute. All right, so let me go to this. Okay. Well, what is good? What happened there? Everything was working fine. Okay, hold on. Let me go to this. Okay. So why don't I go to this? And I want to share this. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, sorry. Too many windows open. All right, so this is the distribution of trust funds in the absence of a quorum. So to see if the town will vote to amend the general bylaws of the town of Lunenburg by adding a new section to Chapter 12, Boards, Commissions, and Committees designated as Section 12-9, entitled Distribution of Trust Funds in the Absence of a Quorum, to authorize the Select Board on a limited conditional basis to approve distributions from trust funds only when the Board of Commissioner of Trust Funds lacks a lawful quorum, and further to establish specific voting requirements and safeguards applicable to such action, including a unanimous vote of all 5 Select Board members when only one elected member of the Board of Commissioner of Trust Funds remain in office, 2, in the event of an emergency where unanimity is not possible, the temporary inclusion of that sole elected member of the Board of Trust Fund Commissions as a voting participant with approval by a majority of the select board members present. And 3, conflict of interest in emergency fallback procedures, including reliance on the rule of necessity when legally required. All subject to strict compliance with donor intent, the governing instruments, existing policies of the Board of Commissioners of Trust Funds, and all applicable laws, or take any other action relative thereto. So that will be presented also on March 3rd, and that'll also be presented with the Bylaw Review Committee as well. I'm not going to go through the breakdown, but I will. These have been ratified the last week, but this is what you will hear at the Select Board meeting coming up. Okay, that being said, this is our lasty but leasty that we could run through. This is the Town of Lunenburg Board of Commissioners Trust Funds policy for the management and distribution of donated funds. The purpose and scope of this policy governs the acceptance, investment, stewardship, and distribution of money and property donated to the town and held as trust funds under the Board of Commissioner of Trust Funds Management, unless a donor instrument or statute provides otherwise. It establishes a uniform application process, distinguishes loans where donor terms allow from straight disbursements, grants, sets accountability requirements, defines meeting and voting procedures consistent with mass law. The legal authority and compliance framework, this is a summary. The Board of Commissioner of Trust Funds authority and duties. The Board of Commissioner of Trust Funds, 3 members, manages all funds given or bequeathed for the town or its inhabitants, unless the donor provides otherwise. Trust law and Cypre, the Mass Uniform Trust Code, provides the judicial framework to modify charitable trust where the purpose becomes unlawful, impermissible, and impracticable. The AG is necessary party under the Probate and Family Court uniform practice. That's 34. Investment, unless donor terms dictate otherwise, municipal trust funds are invested under General Laws 4455 by local acceptance, town meeting. This is a lot of this stuff that we're going through here. This is all legal stuff in language that is part of the treasurer's oversight duty and our duty as trustees over the funds. There's a list of savings banks, which we all know because we all passed 203C. to invest in a broader amount of funds instead of the 10 list. We've already gone over that in this meeting. That's what this goes through. I just want to make sure that we're blown up here so everybody can see it, sorry. Investment uses, unless donor terms dictate otherwise, municipal funds are invested under that format. Open meeting law complies with Mass General Laws 38 for posting agendas and so forth. This is all stuff that we already do. Town bylaws take effect after the AG approval of a lapse of 90 days following submission by the town clerk with required publication, posting, and so on and so forth. So this is on if a bylaw needs to be created, which it does. We had to add that in there so everybody would understand. We have to have approval to do that. So that's included in this policy document. So the next board that comes along knows it takes time to get the approval. Okay, the definitions: donor instrument, will, deed, trust, we know what that is. Loan, assistance loan, distribution that must be repaid to the same donor fund per written terms in the donor instrument or expressly permitted. If the donor instrument does not authorize loans, no loan may be issued from that fund, okay? So, again, if the instrument does not authorize a loan, you can't issue a loan from the fund, but again, it defaults to, if the loan doesn't say you can't give a loan, then a loan can be given by the policy of this board. What I'm saying to you is that the donor has to say no loans. If they don't, loans can be given. Okay? Everything is done in the positive, just so everybody knows. Law is not written in the negative, it's written in the affirmative. So anything, ready? Get a loan. That's positive. Does it say you can't? No. Then we can. It's that simple. Straight disbursement, grant, distribution not requiring repayment, made only for purpose of donor. A lot of this stuff everybody understands. The Board of Trust Fund Committee accepts gifts, interprets donor intent, approves distributions consistent with donor term, initiates Cypre when necessary, ensures open meeting law compliance, public accountability. See, these are our policy, okay? This is for this board's operation. Treasurer collector maintains custody, invests funds per section 54, keeps separate ledgers, disperses. She does that. Town council reviews donor terms, provides loan grant eligibility opinions, advises. He already does that. Everybody knows what all this is. Gift acceptance, intake. The BCTF provides a gift intake form and gift agreement referencing statutory authority of the town's investment regime, 54, or if accepted, B or 203C. Council verifies legality and conditions, whether loans are permitted by the donor, et cetera, things like that, to come up with the parameters of the specific loan. Just as a review, the board votes in ledgering. The trust fund accepts gifts by open session vote. Treasurer establishes separate ledgers. We all know this. Investment and cash management. We all know this. Default investment under 4454A unless donor directs otherwise. Optional prudent investor election. We have. Deposit short-term Mass General Laws, Chapter 4460 governs public deposits and short-term placements. Okay? That's on short-term investments, which we really don't do. You are more or less in perpetuity with any kind of investments, but funds rather. Distribution types of parent loan versus straight disbursement. Donor intent controls. Loans are authorized only if the donor instrument expressly allows it. Again, it's revolving assistance. Otherwise, they may not issue a loan and must consider straight disbursements consistent with donor purpose. Again, if it doesn't say it, we issue the loan. When a loan is authorized by the donor instrument, they evaluates the temporary need and repayment feasibility, sets written terms, principal term, interest if allowed, promissory note, credits, repayment plan, so forth. Straight disbursement, used where donor expects grants or does not authorize loans, ensures purpose. We know what that is. Prohibited any distribution that conflicts with donor terms or law. If terms are unlawful, impossible, practical, you must seek cypre with AG participation. Filing applicant submits it to, this is application review and voting process. If you notice, I'm going real quick because we know a lot of this already. We've been over this. Filing applicant submits a trust fund distribution application identifying the donor fund, purpose, amount, whether requesting a loan or straight disbursement. Pre-meeting reviews, verifying balances, restrictions, council confirms donor compliance, meeting procedure. We know how this works. Agenda lists each applicant, whether it seeks a loan or a grant, executive session only if statutory under section 21A, purpose applies, so on and so forth. This is all stuff we're all doing. Post-approval, loan, issue promissory notes, set receivable and schedule, credit repayments to the same fund, grant, issue award letter stating purpose and conditions. Treasurer disperses accordingly. Checklist and required documentation. We've gone over this. This is a listing of checklists. Application package completed. Estimate, invoice, financial documentation. If loan is requested and permitted, applicant may propose a preferred term and monthly payment. Internal reviews, treasurer verification, town council memo, donor compliance, loan authorization, cypre flags, if any. Executive session disclaimer placed on the application agenda. I just mentioned that. Do you know what I'm saying? Post-decision documents, grant award letter, promissory note if loan, public minutes capturing open session. We already do that. Accounting and reporting, maintain separate ledgers per donor fund. We already do that. Provide quarterly statements to the BCTF and an annual trust report filed with the town clerk and summarized publicly. We have to do that. That's going to happen next week because we have to have that in. If a fund's purpose becomes unlawful, impossible, or impracticable, consults counsel and petitions the probate and family court. Okay? Cypre and deviation when purpose no longer exists. Open meeting law compliance. Implementation and forms. We'll publish gift intake and agreement templates. Trust fund distribution application, promissory note, fillable application. We've provided those. Temporary issuing authority when the BCTV lacks quorum. We put this in here. Okay? That must fully comply with this policy, which I just read to you. Shall act as a temporary issuing authority only for distributions. The bylaw is a continuity measure. It does not transfer investment management authority from the BCTF. Triggering conditions record, the select board may only act if section 12.9's triggering conditions are met. Scope and preservation standards, process, application review board. Applicants use the same trust fund distribution application, treasurer verification, town council, legal review. Everything is used. This is all for the select board, which when we ratify this, if we do that tonight, which I'm going to put a motion in for that, forgive me, that we're going to excerpt out unless it's passed by town meeting. That's how the motion will look, but the rest of the policy will stay in full force and effect. But there's also, obviously, there's an indemnification clause in here. If any one part of the policy is void because of law, then all other parts stay. So we always have that. Model executive session motion in here, okay? Sample trust fund distribution application. Again, this is just samples. This is a policy. This is not the exact document, okay? It can be adjusted. Any trust fund commission can come in here and add something to it. These are samples, okay? Applicant information, fund request, Yeah, is that good? Oh, you can hear me? I can hear you.
Thank you.
All right, we got it. All right, so we're back. All right, so where am I sharing here? Now I don't know where I'm sharing.
That's on TV.
I know, but I'm not sharing it anymore. Oh, okay, now I'm sharing. All right, so. Why am I here? All right, sorry about that. We had some technical difficulty. So, in any case, these are just basically fund requests and so forth, purpose and alignment with donors, budget documentation, internal reviews to be completed by the town treasurer, collective verification. This is all just stuff that goes on behind the scenes, written out. Town council review if it's necessary and so on. This is a process. Executive session disclaimer, that has to be in there. I certify the information provided is true and complete to the best of my knowledge. Applicant certification, all statements, recovery of funds. And that's basically the policy in a nutshell on being able to distribute the funds. So I would take into consideration the section that we put a motion on the floor to accept the policy. Richard, if you have any discussion, do you have a discussion that you'd like to have on this, or you ready for a motion?
I have no
Good, not like we have been talking about this for 9 months. So, outside of section 14 of this document, titled Board of Commissioner Trust Funds Policy for the Management and Distribution of Donated Trust Funds, outside of section 14, unless and until it becomes ratified by annual town meeting of a bylaw change, the rest of this document shall be in full force and effect, separated from that we will vote on today as being the policy for the management and distribution of donated trust funds. So, I make a motion to adopt the policy for the management and distribution of donated trust funds, written by the Board of Trust Fund Commissioners, with the exception of 14, unless and until it is ratified at annual town meeting. And if it is ratified at annual town meeting, it shall be incorporated into this document by order and directive of town meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We ratify the Board of Commissioner Trust Funds policy for the management and distribution of donated funds. All right. All right. Let's see. Where am I? Okay. So that's the follow-up that we did of the bylaw submission responses, select board, town manager, finance committee. I did meet with Mylene today for 2 hours. I went through some more boxes and stuff like that. I probably have another hour to meet with her, and that's it. I didn't meet with her. She was doing something else. I was just going through boxes. I found a lot of good stuff. There'll be stuff getting posted up online. It's just, we're trying to get it all done at once. Kara's doing something right now with the town, so transferring stuff over. So, you know, she doesn't need to be inundated with all that paperwork. All right, so we did that. We reviewed our operating policy. We did number 2. Did a review of the presentation of the trust funds for the annual town meeting. We took care of that. Number 3. Number 4 is the final research of existing funds document review update. I just did that. That's number 4. That's all our business for today, with the addition of the March 3rd presentation for the select board of the 2 warrant articles, the proposition for the bylaw and the warrant article for Cypre money. Old business, meeting minutes ratification. Do we have any meeting minutes to ratify?
Mr. Chair, I just put out on the share just 3 days ago the minutes of January 8th, 2026 and January 29th, 2026.
Awesome.
If you wish to review those actually ratify the next meeting.
Yes, we will.
More time to review.
Yes, we will.
3 days out there. So.
Yes, we will. It's
But they
okay.
are out there for your review out, and there's a new directory, new folder, 2026 meeting.
Yes. Nope, that's fine. Absolutely. That's fine. I appreciate that. Like I said, so by law, the meeting minutes, they get written within a reasonable amount of time. Updates to application for funds. I'm going to be meeting with the lawyer. I spoke of that. Vacancy, we still have a vacancy, looking for another member. Just so you know, if you want to run for an elected seat, you can run for an elected seat for the Trust Fund Commission by submitting your paperwork. The caucus is, I believe, March 9th. Goals of the commission. We've already been discussing that and following along. No update on interns, that's ongoing. Real estate investigation still ongoing. A review rewritten risk management policy ratified with corrections. We're still working on that. Some other things came up. We have warrant articles and stuff we had to put together, so we put that on hold for a little bit. But that process, that's usually like a half a night for us to be able to review that. Review the trust with the AG, Office of Public Charity, that's on hold on hold because annual town meeting is going to determine how that's going to come out. So, that being said, is there any beneficiary comments that we have? We have no beneficiaries here this evening. Our upcoming meeting will be February 26th, 2026. Is there any public comment? There's no public here, and I don't have any public on Zoom. Is there any public comment from the Treasurer Finance Director? Nope, there isn't any here. Any public comment from the board?
No comment?
Okay. Well, that being said, I would ask if you would give us a motion to adjourn, and we can end this evening.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn the meeting at 6:35 PM.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye?
Aye. It is now 6:35, and our meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much for joining us here this evening at the Board of Commissioner of Trust Funds.